Now moving on to the large intestine. The large intestine, that is the terminal part of our GIT, and it is extending from ileum, that means the last part of the small intestine where it ends, and from there to anus. And the opening of the ileum into the large intestine is guarded by a valve which is called ileocecal sphincter or valve, because sphincter is made from circular muscles, and since it is acting like a valve, that is allowing the partially digested food or undigested food to move only in one direction and not allowing it to return, so that is why its behavior is like that of a valve. The large intestine is structurally divided into three regions, and those are the cecum, colon and rectum. And in the large intestine, some of the water, electrolytes and small amounts of vitamin K, they get absorbed. So let us take on the structure of this large intestine. So here we see the large intestine, and this is the ileum here. And this ileum is opening into the first part, that is cecum, and at this opening there is this ileocecal valve. Now this cecum is a dilated region. In our case it is very small, but if we see in case of herbivores, there the cecum is quite large where fermentation of cellulose takes place. Now this cecum is giving out a small finger-like projection, an outgrowth which is called vermiform appendix. Now in our case, vermiform appendix, as far as digestion is concerned, it is a vestigial structure. But this vermiform appendix is also filled with lymphoid tissue. But sometimes what happens, that undigested part, some seeds which we might have taken along with the fruits we eat, that may drop into this vermiform appendix, and then it will rot there, causing immense swelling with pain, and that is appendicitis, and that has to be operated upon, and then the appendix has to be removed. Now this cecum is also harboring number of symbiotic microorganisms, especially bacteria. Number of bacteria are remaining there, and there are certain foods which we have not been able to digest. For us they are undigestible, but for bacteria they would be raw material. So bacteria would be fermenting them. Now then, taking up the next part of the small intestine, and that is the colon. Now colon is having 4 segments. Here when it is rising up, this is called ascending colon. Then it runs through the width of the body, so that is the transverse. Then it is coming down, that is descending, and then it takes almost a sigmoid shape. This is called the sigmoid colon. So these are the 4 parts, out of which the ascending colon is the shortest segment. And this sigmoid colon is opening into the rectum. Now the histology of the colon shows some very special features. We can just mention them, and these are Taenia coli. Now Taenia coli are bands of longitudinal muscles. Now we had seen in the muscularis, there are longitudinal muscles all along the entire circumference. But here these longitudinal muscles, they are present in the form of bands, and there will be 3 such bands, and those are called Taenia coli. And because of this, the entire wall of the colon is forming pouch-like structures which are called haustra. And even the serosa here has folds in which fat is accumulated, and those folds are called epiploic appendages. So these are 3 structures which are specific to colon. Now we can again see these structures in the diagram. So here, this longitudinal band that you see here, this one is the Taenia coli. And because of this Taenia coli, the entire wall is thrown into these pouch-like structures, and these pouches are haustra. And here, topmost covering, which is serosa, that serosa has finger-like folds, and these finger-like folds are filled with fat, and those are the epiploic appendages. So these are 3 important histological variations that we are able to see in the colon. Then in the colon also there are number of symbiotic bacteria. And any bacteria that you have learned till date where the species name is ending with coli, so that means it is a resident of colon, and that's why such a species name has been given to it, like Escherichia coli. And these bacteria, some of them are commensals, that means because of them we don't have any benefit or loss, but there are some of them which are secreting, which are symbiotic for us, and they are secreting vitamin B12 and K. So vitamin B12 and K are produced by these symbiotic bacteria. And there are nearly 400 different species of bacteria which are living in our cecum and colon. So literally there is an entire biome of microorganisms which is present in our large intestine. Moving on to the next part, that is the rectum. And rectum is the last part of the GIT, and this is the sigmoid colon which is opening into the rectum. So here, if we see this structure, it's a sac-like structure, and it is then terminating into a narrow region which is called the anal canal. And anal canal is opening to the outside, and that opening is anus. The opening at the anus is guarded by two sphincters. The inner one, the internal anal sphincter, which is made from smooth muscles, and the external anal sphincter, which is made from skeletal muscles. Then again in the rectum, just like esophagus, the serosa is absent. So here, one histological difference that we can mention here is that serosa is absent. And again, internally it is lined by non-keratinized squamous epithelium. Then in this anal canal, sometimes what happens that people, those who are having repeated cases of constipation, so there the veins are highly dried, and when they pass through the anal canal, so there are the rectal veins which are present, they rupture and there would be bleeding taking place. And when repeatedly such a thing happens, these rectal veins enlarge, and such type of enlargement of rectal veins is termed hemorrhoids. So this is a kind of disorder where there is enlargement of rectal veins. So in this case, once we have gone through the entire GIT, we are left out with only the associated glands, that is the salivary glands, liver and the pancreas, which we will be discussing in our next class. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.